What is up, guys? Welcome back to another Kentucky Derby news update. As we sit here November 18th, we're going to give you the current top five that how we see it at least on the show, and then we'll go over a little bit of news as well. Well, let's get to the news first, actually, because there was a race last weekend that does, it's not a Kentucky Derby prep race per se, but it is a race there at Del Mar that has produced some decent horses in the past. So the Bob Hope Stakes was Sunday, November 17th, and the winner was Bullard. Bullard wins, goes 2 for 2 now, broke the maiden on debut right there at Del Mar, and then came back and won the Bob Hope. Did it pretty darn easily. Now, a 4 3/4 length victory. That's the good news. Really, it never looked in doubt. More good news there. It was a wicked pace. Just really, really fast up front. And so that helped because Bullard and the second place finisher, Matticat Road, who we'll talk about here in a second, they were behind and they, were sitting in 4th and 5th respectively, and they closed up and got the job done. So not that, surprising that they were able to win, but I did really like how Bullard just kind of took over. And like I mentioned, Matticat Road was back there with Bullard towards the back. Matticat Road does finish second, but he's not anywhere close to Bullard. So pretty good effort there. I don't have any in my top five yet. 2 races now around one turn. This was a 7 furlong race. But I've got him on the radar now. I think if you did 10 horses, you'd have to be on it just for lack of anybody to rank number one. And number two, he did show a little bit of talent, no doubt about it. He's also a horse by gun runner, so I think the horse will stretch out okay. And we've kind of seen it in the past, horses that have won this race. Some of them have stretched out and been fine. I'll kind of just go down the list. Like Nisos won this race last year. Of course, where's he and when will he be back? But he was very good. Messier 4 years ago was able to win this race. You had a horse like Mucho Gusto win this race in 2018. You could go down the line. Mastery won it in 2016. These are good horses. Shared Belief in 2013. So while it's kind of a race at not a weird distance, but when you think of Kentucky Derby, 7 furlongs is kind of a weird distance. So, it's on November 17th, not really when you think about Derby horses or good horses really running. In the past, we've had good ones, and I think Bullard is certainly one that's going to be good. And I think he does kind of, if for lack of anything else, this is a horse not trained by Bob Baffert that can be here in Southern California and maybe challenge some Bob Baffert runners. So I like that. Speaking of Bob Baffert, Matticat Road was second. This is a debut runner. So he debuted Matticat Road in a stakes race. That was interesting. The horse was bet like he was pretty good. He was the third choice as a maiden in a 5-horse race, so yeah, he was bet okay. The horse was entered at Churchill Downs the day before, was on the also eligible list, didn't get into the race, obviously, and so then came to Del Mar. I don't know if they were really serious about going to Churchill. I don't really know that, but at the end of the day, I thought for a first-time starter in a stakes race, Matticat Road ran okay, but again, kind of dropped towards the back and then made a little bit of a run and got beat pretty easily, and I don't know, like he got a pretty good setup. I really, to be quite honest, I was very curious to see Matticat Road, to see what he would do. His workouts had been fantastic. I don't know what to really make of him. He wasn't bad, obviously, but he wasn't overly great either. However, like I said, maybe he shows up in a maiden special weight next and we can get a little bit better of a read on him. He's been working very, very well. So we'll kind of see what happens. So that's the latest there. Bullard gets the win in the Bob Hope Stakes. Not quite in the top 5, but a horse to maybe look for. All right, let's go to the top 5. Same as last week, so we'll go through them quickly here. Admiral Dennis, of course, on debut, a horrific trip, does not get the job done, gets third, and then gets a new jockey for his second race and blows him away. They just kept him wide, kept him out to the outside, blew him away. I'm ready to see this horse go 2 turns. Both these races were 1-turn races so far. I think with the breeding, this horse could be pretty darn good. So Admiral Dennis at number 5. Sovereignty, number 4, once again. Kind of talked about him last week, obviously, as well. A horse that debuted on Travers Day, going 1 turn. Got 4th. It ran really, really well. Got second in his next race, going 1 turn at Belmont at the Big A. Stretched out as a maiden, stretched out to get the job done in a race at Churchill Downs, a Kentucky Derby prep race at Churchill Downs last time out. Stretching out to 2 turns. really did not like the track all that well, but was still able to get the job done. Got his footing late. So number 4 is Sovereignty. Number 3, East Avenue. We all know him. Just draw a line through the Breeders' Cup Juvenile. Stumbled out of the gate badly. A horse that likes to be near the front was all of a sudden last, and it was over. So, draw a line through that. His other 2 races were really brilliant. So we'll just kind of, see how he progresses, see where he shows up next. And again, I'm not holding the Breeders' Cup Juvenile against him at all. Number 2 is Gaming. Gaming was a horse that was second in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile. The Bob Baffert runner I liked the most in the Juvenile was Gaming. Great maiden special weight win at Del Mar, followed up by a very nice win in the Del Mar Futurity. And like I said last week, first time going around 2 turns was at the Breeders' Cup. I really wished he could have made the prep, which was the American Pharaoh, which our number 1 horse won and then went on to win the Breeders' Cup Juvenile. But anyway, I think if Gaming would have made that race, the American Pharaoh got that first race going 2 turns under his belt, he could have been a lot better and more prepared for the Breeders' Cup Juvenile. But still, he's number 2 for me. And then number 1 is Citizen Bull. And Citizen Bull is a horse that obviously, like I said, he got beat by Gaming in the Del Mar Futurity, then came back and was able to win the American Pharaoh and then win the Breeders' Cup Juvenile. So those 2 nice wins around 2 turns has him at number 1 for now. It's kind of how it is this time of year. If the Breeders' Cup Juvenile comes up to be a good race, which it did, and then whoever wins it, well, they're number 1 at that moment. It's kind of like Fierceness last year, Citizen Bull this year. Those 2 wins around 2 turns. I also think he could be a horse that's going to get better and better with his breeding and kind of his running style. I think he's going to be awfully tough in some of these prep races coming up as well. So number 1, Citizen Bull. Number 5, Admiral Dennis. Number 4, Sovereignty. Number 3, East Avenue. Number 2, Gaming. Number 1, Citizen Bull. Had a couple of comments on last week's show I wanted to bring up real quickly, talking about some horses, that people have on their list. The first one I'll bring up is Showcase, a horse that I think a couple people mentioned. They really like Showcase. So if you don't know about Showcase, he is trained by Todd Pletcher, and he is a horse that is undefeated at 2 for 2. However, we just have not seen him have a work. I'm going to look it up right now. I believe it's since September. We haven't seen him work. So he was a debut winner and a very sharp debut winner for Pletcher. He then went on to the Saratoga Special next. And, he was very impressive in that race. He had a troubled trip. He was still able to get the job done. And he's certainly one I had circled. He's by Uncle Mo. No problems with that, obviously. And I just kind of thought, okay, he's one to kind of look at. But again, after that Saratoga Special, he had a couple works, and we haven't seen him since. And with a horse with this kind of talent, you don't just disappear for no reason. So something's the matter with him. And those are just horses that I don't rank, because you just never know when they're going to come back. And when they come back, we'll see what happens. But as of right now, Showcase is gone. We'll see if he comes back. So, but he does have talent, and I would kind of keep an eye on him. But like I said, right now, you just don't know about him. As I scroll through here, there's a couple of another ones. Rated by Merit is a horse that was mentioned down in Florida. We'll see what happens with him. He's one I would assume we're going to see in some of the bigger races there at Gulfstream. So we'll see what happens with him. I'm kind of a wait and see with him at this moment, but I get it. Like I get this horse does have talent. This horse, by the way, a Florida bred. Not that matters. I mean, we've seen good Florida breds, and he's 3 for 3 there at Gulfstream. So that Rated by Merit, definitely a good one. Let's go through here, see a couple more. See if I can find them very quickly here. Somebody said, let's see, Minty was a horse that somebody had mentioned, and that's a horse that was in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf. Did debut though, and ran very well on the dirt there at Belmont. Set a track record. So yeah, that's another one that you could think of as well. So that's just 3 or 4 that people have mentioned. I'll kind of do that throughout these videos, especially early. What do we really have to talk about at the moment? We're in a little bit of the boring phase until Thanksgiving weekend, and then the rims in the week after, Los Al Futurity and Springboard Mile. So it's actually after this weekend, the Derby scene actually starts to heat up, believe it or not. But yeah, right now I'll kind of keep talking about a few of these that the commenters mentioned as well. So I wanted to mention rated by merit, a horse. I'm not sure about the distance. That's the one last thing I wanted to say. By Battalion Runner out of a Speightstown mare. I don't know. It's going to be interesting, but we do know down at Gulfstream, speed will carry, things like that will carry, and as this horse goes longer, maybe a racetrack like Gulfstream is where this horse can really, see the best of him, I guess I should say, or he get the most out of him, if I could speak right. So anyway, yeah, but I'm excited. Thanks guys for the comments, by the way, as well. I'll definitely keep reading these out, like I said. All right. That'll do it. I've rambled on enough. Thanks everybody for joining us for another Kentucky Derby update. Really appreciate it. Hit that like button if you liked the video. Hit subscribe. You really like it. Want to get alerted anytime we do videos like this. I'll see you right back here next week for more Kentucky Derby top 5 and latest news coverage.